So you want to be an artist. You really want to jump down that rabbit hole. Or maybe you already have. I've got 5 clear things you need to understand about being an artist, especially if you're in photography, and a bonus for you. Hey everyone, Artist by Design, Dana Haynes here. What's up? Welcome, thanks for dropping in where we cover all things art. We discuss digital, web design, multimedia, photography, everything artists need to know. I sold my first piece of traditional artwork in oil when I was 14. I've been in digital web design and programming for 21 years. I have 10 years of photography and studio experience and 32 years in business management and owning a small business. So take a moment right now before you forget so we can dive right in. So one day in studio, I was sitting and kind of contemplating this between customers and doing my VIPing. Why now, all of a sudden, could I finally do art? And this really pertains to photography, but I sat and thought about it, and it pertains to other avenues as well. What was different about what I was doing this time versus what I was doing before? And it wasn't just because I was in a brick and mortar. There were 5 specific things going on that made me successful at what I was doing. And one of them, number one, and most photographers will tell you this, it's being a clown. You have to be part clown for your customers. You have to entertain them. You have to humor them. You have to, especially online these days, it's very important that people like you, that they're not afraid of you. And some people are afraid of clowns, but you know, you have to relax people and get them comfortable with you, okay? Or otherwise it just doesn't go very well. And this was just me thinking about photography, but I went home that night and went, no, this applies to any one of these kind of artistic avenues that I've gone down, whether it was digital design. If people don't like you, they're not going to come to you. But it's really important when you're working with little children that they like you and you can get a smile out of them. Well, it's still pertaining to the parents and other adults coming in. So, number one, you have to be part clown and part entertainer. The next thing you need to know about being an artist is you're going to have to be some sort of marketing person. You do not do it 100% of the time. What it boils down to is, because I did have a marketing team behind me, but I still had to do marketing for my specific studio. So, it boiled down to I spent maybe 10% of my time on this, maybe 15, 20, because I was enjoying it, because I actually do enjoy, making flyers and stuff like that. So you have to have marketing behind you, okay? You're going to have to do it. You're going to have to understand it and what goes into it, okay? The third thing that came in line with all this was you have to be a manager. You have to manage your business. And whether you're working for a studio or for yourself, you need to know how to manage your time in your business. And even if you get, you're really good and you get in this, one of the major studios or something, and you have that secure job, you still, on the side, have to promote yourself and keep thinking about your career, because this job may end. I mean, where I was, the studio went bankrupt, and boom, 5,000 people out of a job. So I still had to keep working on my career and letting people know I'm an artist, I'm a photographer, I'm a designer, I program, I do this, I do that, and make people aware of it. And I don't bang them over the head with it or anything, but you have to manage your time, okay? You have to manage your business, and you have to understand, taxes, and that it's if you want to keep doing art, that you have have to look at it as a business some of the time. And running the studio, managing the business part of it only took me, maybe an hour out of the day. At the, I'm thinking, you know, end of the month, maybe I would spend 4 or 5 hours. Tax time, if it was my own business, yeah, I'd probably spend a little bit more time on it. But this is one of the components. You have to be a clown. You have to understand marketing yourself, that you're going to have to do that to a degree, and that you're going to be a manager of a business if you want to keep doing art. The other thing I had to learn, and I was scared to death of it, was sales. I was petrified of selling anything. And it wasn't a lack of confidence. Could I do art or do the job or do any of that? I was a very shy kid when I grew up, and all those little, I outgrew it obviously, but all those, how you get before you have to stand up in front of a bunch of people and give a speech, that kind of fear. I really had that going on, and it was something that I had to overcome. And you will have to sell, whether you're doing photography or whether you're doing art, design, programming, or any of the above. You're going to have to know how to sell yourself and your product. Now, this all applied to photography. And 5 things you have to be a good photographer, besides actually being good at photography and being a good artist. You have to know these things. They just come with the territory. Not everybody is going to work in a studio. Not everybody's going to have a job working for somebody else. Part of the time you're going to be freelance. I mean, I've worked, there was a situation where I was working for a couple different studios at one time, and more of a freelance. I was working on my career while working with them. And everything that I thought about, what all the successful components of it, this was the 5 things that it boiled down to. I knew these 5 things, and I could do the art well. And this applies to just being a regular artist too, not just photography. This applies to art. You're going to have to know these 5 things in order to get somewhere. They don't have to take up all your time. Like I said, this is something when you're interacting, you're not, with art, you're not going to interact as much as I did with children, but you still have to be approachable and likable, and the customer find you somewhat entertaining, or they're going to go to somebody else. Like I said, you're going to have to know how to market your specific type of art, whether it's photography or paintings or drawings, or I'm getting into this video stuff. Not that it's more because I wanted to learn the digital 3D art. But I'm gonna have to know how to sell myself once I learn that skill. So whichever skill you have, you're going to have to manage, and you're going to have to manage it like a business. So these are things that go into it. All right. Now the bonus here is basically I ran across somebody when I was frustrated. I was just running businesses, and I wasn't getting to do the art, or I would go home and I'd run businesses all day, and I'd go home and I'd try to do art at night, and keep up with like trying to have 2 full-time jobs. I asked another artist, and they don't like to tell you this stuff, apparently, unless you're employed by a studio, and then they'll go, no, you got to know this. But this is what it boils down to. Okay, I ran across a book years ago, and they really sat down and said, okay, if you want to be an artist, you need to you're going to face all these different kind of obstacles as you go along, And if you're serious about it, you're going to have to define what success is to you. Now, to me, being able to provide an income for myself from something that I love to do was important. All right. Um, my definition of success may not be yours. You know, there are people going, well, you didn't work in a very big, well, I did, but to some people it's lower level, not that important studio. I didn't work at Warner Brothers or Disney. I worked at CPI, which was, big, but anyway, was that success to me? No, it was learning that those 5 things go into it. That was success to me. That I'd finally turned a key over to what had been holding me back, because I was scared of sales. There was a component to that I was scared of, and I had to overcome. And I'm not talking about being, like this high pressure, crazy, dirty car salesman type person. You just need to know how to approach people and say things the right way that doesn't turn them off, and you need to know to shut up as well. That was a trick I need. That's one topic in itself. But here's the bonus, okay, about knowing what you want. And I sat and thought about this before I made this video. When did I decide what I wanted, or what I thought success as an artist was going to be for me? And my grandmother took me out to California when I was 12 years old, me and my sister. And we drove through LA, and it was smoggy and it was nasty. Lots of traffic. And the only thing that could go through my mind was, I don't ever want to live here. And but there were parts of California that were beautiful. But anyway, it made a huge impact on me. And then we were on our way to Universal Studios, which also made a huge impact on me. And did I want to work there? And this is the other thing that held me back a lot, is I didn't want to move to one of these bigger cities to be an artist. It didn't feel like success to me. It felt like compromise. And I argue back and forth with family members all the time. It's normal for us. Well, not me and my kids, but anyway, I think family's important. I wanted to stay near them. So, to me, being successful was being able to have a career and my family, and not having to move to one of these places that just may be too much for me. And at some point, I have moved. I went to Florida. I did other things, but I always came back here. This is where home is to me. So transplanting myself, and even when I was contemplating and getting accepted to art schools, I didn't want to move to certain places, and I don't want to bring them up. But anyway, it was just it didn't feel like success to me if I had to do that, even if it was for a couple of years. So you need to think about this kind of stuff. What is success to you? To me, success was being able to support my family doing art, and it didn't really matter so much that I was working for a studio. But when I was young, and that trip, it made such an impact on me that I want to work with studios, but I don't want to work for studios, because I didn't want to transplant or something like that. So these are things you've got to think about. What's success to you, and who do you admire, and why do you admire them? And because these are the people that you admire growing up, is who you're wanting to become like. Okay, so when I was very young, I everybody kind of looks up to Walt Disney, but I had a big thing about him. And I wanted to be like him, but I didn't want to go work at his studio. I wanted to create, he created his own little world. That was my interest in him. He just created all this great stuff. And as I looked back at other artists that I looked up to and admired, they all started their own little thing. Okay? The ones, D&D was its own thing. These, gaming companies, it's its own thing. They created something, and that was what another component to success to me was being able to be inventive and explore things. So when you think about whether you're success or not, in my mind, I'm a rock star, but not to everybody. To me, interacting with everyday people, average everyday people, not Hollywood glamour types, was more interesting to me as an artist and a photographer, and getting to do that amount of sets and learn at like this really huge pace, was, yes, I'm growing, I'm learning, that's making me successful. So when you go into this and you want to be an artist, this is one of the things. Who do you admire? What are they doing that you like? And I'm not necessarily saying mimic and do their, I mean, when I was younger, I mimicked a lot of these artists. Um, Learning their styles and stuff like that, just teaching myself how to paint or something like that. But you'll fall into your own. What you want to look at is, why do you admire them? Because it's something you're going to want to grow into as an artist, and that's what's going to make you feel successful. So you know, every one of these people that I admired were commercial artists. They didn't necessarily work for studios. They were involved with studios or created their own thing. I mean, I think the world of Pixar, because they were going at it, and seeing the possibilities. I'm banging people on the head going, this computer thing, you don't get it. It's way more than just chit chat. And people going, and ignoring me, and me going, no, you don't understand. This is huge. So, I there's things about my path that, you know, people are going to knock you and act like you're not something or less than you are. You have to know in your own heart what makes you feel successful. And then all the naysayers and whatever they've got to say about it. I mean, I literally, I spent a year or two running a studio, and my cousin just, I went to take, you know, photograph or portrait of some of her friends, and was being really nice because I was doing it for nothing, and promoting her with my expensive equipment. And she sat and laughed. Dana's a photographer. Stuff like this. You can't go, her, or anybody like that, idea of your success doesn't matter. It's what, and if you know that right from the start, you're better off. You know, I've had self-doubts. I started out selling without even meaning to when I was a teenager. So, it's not necessarily about sales to me. It's about being able to support myself doing that, which is a big struggle for a lot of people going into art. And, if you're scared, you need to get real clear about what it is you want out of your art career. I have jumped down so many rabbit holes. There are people that say, well, you need to just learn one thing and get really good at it. And I really wished I could be that way, but I'm not. I like to learn this, and then I want to learn this, and I want to learn that. And you're going to keep growing as an artist the more you do. The more photo sessions I had, the better I got. So the more successful I felt. And if you're clear about that, and you know that right from the get-go, that the more I do, the better, the more secure I feel about my own art, then the less you worry about naysayers. You can just take feedback from them. So that's my take on what it really takes to be an artist and photographer in this day and age. You can check me out on the next video. Make sure you comment and like below. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, ring my bell. If you've got any input that you would like to add, I hope I'm making sense to you. Let me know. Comment down below. And we'll see you next video. So again, make sure you subscribe. Ring my bell down there below. Let me know what you think. Give me a shout out and a holler. And I'll look forward to talking to you below after the video. If you're more of a gamer and into that, you can follow me over on Twitch Live. I'm on other social platforms. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, you name it, I'm on it. I'm on a majority of the art sites. You can check all those links below, and I look forward to seeing you at the next video.